Teachers and principals accused of cheating students out of an education by cheating on standardized tests.
Today, an angry judge in Atlanta hit several public school educators with prison sentences more common to violent drug offenders.
8 Atlanta educators by an angry judge after they were convicted on charges typically reserved for mobsters. He threw the book at them.
Hello, my name is Kaylin Colors, and I'm the creator of Wrong or Right, Atlanta Public Schools Cheating Scandal. I wanted to add this portion into the film so that you guys could get a better understanding as to why I chose this particular topic. The cheating scandal was the longest criminal trial that took place in the state of Georgia. However, after verdicts were said, people were sentenced, it is just as if everything went under the radar. But this case, after my research, my digging and finding data and listening to testimonials, this case was very complex. It dealt with education, it dealt with power, and it dealt with race. And those three things are all very serious and heavy topics for something as such as this to just be swept up under the rug after sentencing was made. I was a student of Atlanta Public Schools. I also was a student at the time of one of the schools that were on the list of the cheating scandal. And I hold a very close connection to this story. So I felt as if it would only be befitting and right for me to dive deep, now that I am older, into this story. Hopefully I do it justice and we both learn a lot.
In one of the most important places in America, a public school.
President Bush, when he was running for president, decided that education was his #1 domestic priority, and went around during the campaign convincing his fellow Republicans that not only did we not need to abolish the Department of Education, but that we ought to have a federal role that really met the promise of the initial creation of the Department of Education, which was essentially a civil rights issue.
Cheating by educators has been reported in some 40 states, but Atlanta, a largely African-American high-poverty district, was one of the only places where prosecutors brought criminal charges. Conspiracy under Georgia's racketeering law, a law often used against the mafia and drug dealers, not educators.
It was one of the biggest scandals ever to rock American schools. Nearly 200 educators in Atlanta were accused of systematic cheating, including changing answers on the state's standardized tests in order to boost student scores.
He threw the book at them, handing down sentences typical of violent crimes. 3 former administrators were sentenced to at least 7 years in prison. 5 others were given at least 1 year.
Sincerely apologize.
2 defendants who admitted guilt and waived appeal got much lighter sentences of partial confinement.
This thing was pervasive. It's like the sickest thing that's ever happened to this town.
It was 2008, 2009 when the cheating scandal happened. I was in elementary school. I went to Peyton Forest Elementary, and I was a 3rd grader. At the time, I only knew that, people were investigating the school, people were investigating my teachers, and I was like, oh my God, like some of my beloved teachers, like they are about to go to jail or seek jail time. I'm just not going to see them anymore. This is crazy. But as I continued to research and dive deep at this age into the cheating scandal, I saw just how much of a big deal it was and why the adults around me spoke so much on it. While I was doing my research, I came across the AJC article that was published. And one thing that stood out to me that I must say verbatim really struck me. And as a journalism major, I know that journalist has a way with words. In the article, it says, and this is coming from, this is about my school, Peyton Forest Elementary. Peyton third graders' math results last year were among the lowest in the state. But as fourth graders this spring, they placed fourth in math out of nearly 1,200 schools statewide, outpacing dozens of affluent suburban classrooms. What stuck out to me most in that whole quote was affluent suburban classrooms. When you think of affluent, it's not necessarily meaning black. Black can definitely be affluent, but in the media, in articles, affluent means white. These kids, these black inner city poor kids, were outpacing white, affluent, suburban classrooms. To generalize, because of erasure marks, more than 3 erasure marks in a section, that these inner city poor black kids were cheating, is downright the ism. Racism, stereotyping, prejudice, whatever word you want to place in there. But why is it that 35 that were indicted, 35 educators, plus the superintendent, they were all black, and they came from inner city poverty schools? However, there were over 1,000 investigated, white and black, but black people became the face. Black educators became the face of a cheating scandal, all because people thought that these educators wanted a bonus.
I got bonuses 1 year out of the 4 years that I was a principal, and it was $1,000. And I gave more than $1,000 to Dobbs. I paid for kids' uniforms, and I paid people's rent and their gas bills, and it is offensive that I would cheat for $1,000.
The district has now started a program to help these students, 2,200 of them still enrolled in Atlanta Public Schools. Those who had multiple answers changed on tests they took way back in 2009.